The Bugatti Veyron is in the garage. Matt Armstrong's Bugatti Veyron. And the first thing he finds underneath it is a 40-amp fuse sitting in a slot rated for 25. Someone swapped it at some point, probably because the correct fuse kept blowing, and in doing so, turned a minor electrical fault into a potential car fire. The fuse has been replaced with the right one. But whatever is drawing too much current in that circuit is still there, still waiting, and the correct fuse is now just slowing down the inevitable. That is where this story starts. If you watch the Chiron series, you already know the shape of what Matt does. He buys a Bugatti that nobody else will touch, takes it apart in a regular workshop with his dad, and proves that the car isn't as untouchable as the manufacturer would like you to believe. Then he raises the bar. The Veyron is a different kind of challenge. This isn't a wreck. It runs, it drives, and from 20 feet away it looks like someone's pride and joy. The problems with this car aren't immediately obvious. They reveal themselves slowly, detail by detail, the closer you get, and by the time the wheels are off and it's in the air, the picture has changed completely. Start with the tires. The original Bugatti wheels are gone. What's on the car instead is a set of Pirelli P0 tires on aftermarket rims, Lamborghini spec, which in this context feels almost deliberately offensive, running 5mm spacers to try and bridge the gap between the 355 width tire fitted and the 365 the car is supposed to run. It's a bodge that almost works visually and doesn't work at all mechanically. The reason it matters isn't just fitment. Bugatti bonds the original tires directly to their wheels at the factory. It's not standard practice, it's specific to what the car is designed to do. At 260 miles per hour, the centrifugal force acting on a tire is significant enough that the bond between rubber and rim becomes a structural requirement. Without the correct wheel and tire combination, 253 miles per hour is where the car's limiter sits. Everyone in the workshop knows it won't see 260 like this. The suspension underneath looks reasonable, Bilstein coils, springs that seem fine, drop links that are holding up. But everything is covered in rust, and on the driver's side, the CV boot has split wide open with grease distributed across everything in the surrounding area. A split CV boot on a car making over 1,000 horsepower means water has been getting into the joint. The drive shaft could be fine. It could also be finished. The only way to know is to replace the boot, reassemble, and drive it. On the same side, the brake cooling tube has perished and is no longer moving air anywhere. The arch lining bolts are corroded. The under tray bolts are worse. The front bumper is being held partially together by the wrap. There's a missing trim piece on the lower door. The underbonnet fabric is gone. The Bugatti badge on the front has been touched up with what appears to be a combination of paint and correction fluid. A couple of interior bolts have been rounded off by someone who clearly intended them to be someone else's problem. And then there are the sump plugs. When Bugatti services a Veyron, every sump plug gets a paint mark after it's been torqued to spec. It's a simple system, one mark per service, so you can look at a plug and immediately know how many times the car has been through official maintenance. The Veyron has 16 drain plugs. Every single one of them has exactly one mark, the one from the factory floor. This car has never been serviced. Not once. Every fluid change, every filter swap, every accumulator check that should have happened over the course of this car's life, none of it happened. All of that deferred maintenance is now sitting in a pile on Matt's workbench. Matt builds the complete parts list before he picks up the phone. Arch bolts, CV boot, brake cooling tube, under tray bolts, lower door trim, underbonnet fabric, front badge. Then the service components, HEX fluid, front diff oil, gearbox oil, filter, all 16 sump plugs with crush washers, the gearbox pump, and the accumulators. The accumulators are worth explaining. They store hydraulic pressure so the gearbox can shift gears immediately without waiting for the pump to repressurize the system each time. When they degrade, and they do degrade on a schedule, the pump has to work constantly to compensate. Eventually, the pump dies. On a car that has never been serviced, they have to be inspected and almost certainly replaced. Then there is the speed key. The Veyron ships with 2 keys. The second one is small, has no buttons, and slots into a housing low on the dashboard. Without it, the car runs in a restricted mode, 850 horsepower instead of 1001, and top speed electronically capped well below what the car is capable of. The speed key isn't a luxury feature. It's the difference between owning a Veyron and owning most of a Veyron. Matt's car didn't come with one. He calls Bugatti London first. No answer. He calls Bugatti Manchester, gets through, and explains the situation. Service parts for a car he owns, a few trim items, and a price for a speed key. The answer on parts is the same answer anyone who watched the Chiron series already saw coming. The car has to come to them. Bugatti does not supply parts for owners to fit themselves. It doesn't matter that the car is registered in Matt's name. It doesn't matter that arch lining bolts and a perished brake cooling tube are not safety-critical components. The policy applies without exception to everything, regardless of what the part is or who is asking. This is worth understanding clearly, because what Bugatti is doing is not unusual. It's the business model. After the warranty expires, the manufacturer has spent years engineering a situation where there is nowhere else to go. Parts are locked to the network. Diagnostics require authorized equipment. Keys need to be coded at a dealership, where components, the ones that fail on a schedule, that need replacing on every major service, are only available through official channels. The system is designed so that independence is structurally impossible, and then prices are set accordingly. The safety argument gets deployed to justify this. The same logic that Bugatti applied to the Chiron, that the car could only be worked on in a factory environment, by factory-trained technicians, is the same logic being applied here. Matt Armstrong drove a Veyron onto a lift and removed all four wheels without specialist equipment or controlled conditions. The safety framing is a story manufacturers tell, and it has been doing significant work for a very long time. In June 2024, the EU passed the Right to Repair Directive, with a hard deadline of July 31, 2026 for all member states to implement it into national law. The directive requires manufacturers to make spare parts, repair information, and the tools needed to carry out repairs available to consumers and independent repairers, not just to authorized networks, not just during the warranty period. It specifically targets the kind of aftermarket lock-in that Bugatti has built its service model around. There is older legislation that should already be doing some of this. The Motor Vehicle Block Exemption Regulation, dating back to 1995 and extended through 2028, requires car manufacturers to release technical data and repair instructions to independent repairers. Enforcement on premium and exotic manufacturers has always been inconsistent. The gap between the law existing and the law being applied is precisely the gap that Bugatti has been operating in comfortably for years. There is one item on the list where the legislation doesn't immediately solve the problem: the speed key. Even under a right-to-repair framework, coding a key to a specific vehicle involves software access that manufacturers still largely control. The cybersecurity argument gets deployed here the same way the safety argument gets deployed for mechanical repairs, except it has more substance to it, because programming a key incorrectly can genuinely cause problems in a way that replacing a brake cooling tube cannot. It's a more defensible position for Bugatti to hold, even as the regulatory environment tightens around everything else. For now, the Veyron sits somewhere between 850 horsepower and the full 1001, with no clear path to closing that gap that doesn't involve handing the car back to Bugatti. The fuse box has been sorted. Matt's dad sourced a compatible unit from a Lamborghini Urus, cut and trimmed it to fit, and it works. The CV boot will be sourced independently. The service will be done in-house. The trim pieces, the badge, the lining bolts, all solvable without calling Bugatti again. But the misfire is still undiagnosed. The radiator is still dripping. The original wheels are missing, and black aftermarket rims on a Veyron is, as Matt puts it, basically criminal. The wrap is coming off. The full service still needs doing. And somewhere in the electrical system, a root cause is still waiting to be found. There's a lot of road ahead. But this series was never just about one car. It's about the moment a manufacturer's ability to lock an owner out of their own vehicle runs into a law that says they can't do that anymore. The Chiron build proved that what Bugatti called untouchable wasn't. The Veyron build might prove something slightly different, that working on your own car in your own workshop isn't just possible. After July 2026, it will be your legal right.